Listen!
Hey, what's up, Super Nintendos? I am your permanently temporary host. Thank you. Seth Macy. This week, we are talking Bowser's Fury, a release date for new Pokemon Snap Super Nintendo World opening, delayed, and much more. Joining me this week are Brian Altano.
Hello?
And Tom Marks.
Hi.
And we were going to have a special guest, but something fell through. So hopefully we can get this special guest back on another very special episode of Nintendo Voice Chat.
His name is Super Mario.
We were very excited, but there was some trouble in the Mushroom Kingdom he had to attend to. He just sent me a text, actually. It said, I'm a late. It's L and the number 8. Wow. Speaking of Super Mario, let's talk about Bowser's Fury trailer. I'm assuming that you both watched this bonkers Super Saiyan cat giant ridiculous trailer for Bowser's Fury. We finally know what is the answer of Bowser's Fury. It's literally he's furious. He's so mad he turned into a giant Bowser and he wakes up and throws ink at you and runs around.
Thematically, it is one of, I think, the weirdest and like most incongruous things I've ever seen Mario do. Right? Like, it's the cat Mario from 3D World. It's like hardcore metal angry Bowser, but then you have Bowser Jr. with meow sprites, like Super Mario Sunshine style, in a water world, but then you turn into Super Saiyan cat. Like, it's insane. It's just so weird. And not that that's like an outright complaint about it. It's just very unexpected, like all those things coming together.
It's exactly why it's impossible as a Nintendo fan. And this is one of the things I love the most about being a Nintendo fan, is saying, like telling them, like, this is what you guys got to do next. Because they're like, what? No, we're going to do something every single time. You're like, we think we have this figured out. They're like, no, this is this now. Yeah, it looks completely insane in the best way possible. This is a total bonus for me as somebody who 100% of the last game, cannot wait to play the port to Switch again. To have all this extra content is just like, that makes me so happy. But this specifically it looks like it's kind of open world-ish, and it has this kind of increasingly. Yeah, did you just pick up on that, Seth?
What? That
it's like it's. Yeah, so this doesn't really have like defined levels in it. It looks like just a giant kind of sandbox area that as you're performing actions and collecting stuff and triggering events, Bowser gets increasingly more furious,
irate,
and furious, I guess, in the background. And eventually, sort of like the Blood Moon in Breath of the Wild, it'll, sporadically dawn upon you, and you'll have to contend with the outcome, which is, I guess, scrambling to get this wet bell to turn you into a large Goku cat.
No, but I think even the point is that the bell is like the end game thing, and you have to get enough of these like shine things to even activate the bell, and otherwise you just got to dodge Bowser. It's very different structurally than anything we've seen Mario-wise.
What was the name of? It's not just like the shine. It's like cat shines or
I thought it was like a meow shine.
Meow shine, something like that. I was like, okay, it's. I'm pretty sure like Nintendo just went to a kindergarten and they're like, hey,
well,
what would you want to do? And like 100 different kids says, I want Goku to be a cat and a kitty and a giant mean Bowser to scream at me every 20 minutes.
They're like historically fantastic at being like, okay, we have this mechanic or this concept or this character, and let's just extrapolate it in every possible diagonal direction that you can humanly imagine. And it's kind of amazing, because you're like, okay, so you guys did the cat thing, right? What are you going to do with it? And they're like, we're going to just go crazy with it. We're going to milk it, no pun intended. We're going to throw every single thing at the wall here and see what sticks, no pun intended. Like, it's just nonstop, and I love it, because like this is basically a spin-off cat-themed DLC to like a vaguely cat-themed game that came out, a few years ago that not enough people played. I will say though, I do want to like bring in the only negative I have about this mode. One of the big things I really love about 3D World is its multiplayer component, and this doesn't really commit to that. There is like a Bowser Jr. sort of like side mode that you can play with a second Joy-Con, which is great. Like that might be like playing 2-player Super Mario Galaxy, where like the second player is kind of like collecting star bits and stuff like that. Hopefully a little bit more engaged than that. But I am kind of a little upset that this new mode doesn't have like the 2, 3, 4 player multiplayer in the same way the base mode does. Because that is like really, this is an awesome game. That is really where this game shines.
Yeah. It's a very different thing. It looks like in more ways than one. And I agree. I missed that too. I'm interested to see how long this is going to be, because it looks like there's only this sort of one large area, which almost gives me like Shadow of the Colossus vibes as you're like climbing these ruins, right? So I'm interested to see kind of like how long is this going to be? How often does Bowser show up? How much is there going to be here? And I don't doubt, like I don't have doubts about like it's going to be too short or anything like that. It's just like, yeah, I'm very like, we know what the structure looks like now, and I'm very curious about the scope.
It seems to me like it feels like 2 or 3 Super Mario Odyssey shaped kind of like HUD levels glued together with some events happening in the background. And I think that's totally cool. Like it seems like it'll probably take you like 3 or 4 hours to maybe 100% it and find everything in it. And I'm completely okay with that. Like I wish it was multiplayer or more multiplayer, but I'm completely going to play every second of this.
Yeah. Tom, did you play the original 3D World?
Yeah, 3D World. I love 3D World.
Yeah, actually, watching the trailer the other day reminded me just how great that game is and like how much fun we had. My kids were much younger, but like all of us, my wife and the kids, just playing through it, doing crazy cat stuff and having just the funnest time. So then the addition of this bananas mode that doesn't make any sense, where it just I'm more excited now than I was originally. I had no idea that this was coming.
It feels so much like this is, and this is total speculation, there's no reason to believe this is the case, but it feels so much like this was being made or experimented with or something for maybe 3D World DLC, or maybe a Mario Odyssey world, or maybe like this feels like they were just like playing with ideas and then like decided to use those ideas to bulk this up rather than just being, because the easy way to do it would be kind of what they did with Pikmin 3 Deluxe, right? Which is just, here's more worlds, here's more levels. And like they didn't do that. They did this weird other thing. So it's going to be cool to try.
I have so much respect for them to just be like, oh, it's 3D World. And also there's this kind of sort of almost related, but not related at all, other than the fact that you turned it the giant Goku cat.
It makes more sense why they're calling it plus Bowser's Fury, right? Rather than just like 3D World Deluxe.
Yeah.
The really cool thing about 3D World, again, for those of you who didn't play it, which is again a lot of you because it was a Wii U game. It was one of the better selling games on one of the worst selling consoles ever made. I enjoy the Wii U. I love the Wii U.
I love the Wii U.
We did this show for a long time during the Wii U era, as some of you know. That was,
I was a listener back then, and
slim pickings for news. But 3D World was like one of the biggest. That's actually where Get the Thing comes from. But one thing that I really, really, really like about this game is towards the very, very end of the game, if you're still there and you're still trying to 100% everything, it does that thing where it's like, all right, are the kids sleeping? Okay, because I'm gonna kick your ass now. like that game gets super crazy difficult towards the end. There are some, like if you're really trying to 100% that game, it's awesome. Like there's a couple levels towards the end of that game that are some of the most difficult and challenging and rewarding things that Nintendo has ever made. And I really, really hope you make it to the end. I also want to point out real quick, Nintendo is quietly spinning up more sort of anniversary content around this game. Not in the same way they did last year, obviously, but because the birthday year is over, but they're still doing some stuff. And so they are putting out another set of pins on My Nintendo. So check those out.
I wanted to bring that up. I was very excited because I missed out on the first. I did all the missions, and I missed out on them because every person under the sun. So I was very excited when they announced a second run. Justin, my boss, was like, "Well, we should put together a guide on how to get these." And we looked, and almost all of them had to have been completed in the past. So if you weren't doing these missions all along, I'm only eligible to complete 3 of the missions, but I need 8 of the missions completed to get the pin set. So that's kind of a
check back, because it does seem like they're periodically adding more. I got one yesterday that was like, read a news article on the news feed and then take a picture of the QR code, or on your Switch. which is cool. This is actually a slightly different pin set than the one we got last time. This
Yeah.
focuses on some later 3D Mario characters. But yeah, good luck trying to get it. And if you don't, I don't
Good
know.
old
It's
eBay.
tough, man. It's good old eBay. That's Nintendo for you.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Imagine a world where they just sold pins.
Yeah.
I mean, they do, but they're just not as special as that's what makes them so desirable. Like, you have to jump through some hoops to get these pins, which are no different than any other enamel pin set. It's it's $1.50 to create them in bulk.
Can I show you guys something super quick and explain
Yes,
it for people
please.
listening? Hold on. This is not in the run of the show, but I want to do this.
Oh, he went
I like
rogue.
this. I know, I like it. This is we're getting loosey goosey here on the show today.
Okay. So at PAX a few years ago, I wasn't there. I think I was on paternity leave. And it was the year Link's Awakening came out, and they basically did this scavenger hunt in Seattle, where Nintendo handed out musical instrument pins based on all of the pins in Link's Awakening, or all the musical instruments in Link's Awakening. And you had to basically go all over Seattle to find them. And I wasn't there, and I came back to the office, and there was like one pin on my desk. It was like a violin, and somebody was like, "Hey, I got this for you," and I was like, "I want the whole set." And so Andrew Goldfarb, who used to work at IGN,
beautiful human being.
Beautiful human being. Right before he left to go work on Ghost of Tsushima, awesome game. Go check it out. I'm not saying that because I'm friends with them. I'm saying that because it's an awesome game. Also, it's not a Nintendo anyway, so whatever. Left a whole stack of them on my desk, and I went on eBay and I found the pin card that goes behind them. So now I have this like framed window box set of Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening enamel pins with the pin board that goes on them.
That is so cool.
Which is like super rare. Like the whole set goes for like a couple $100 on eBay now, but I was able to sort of piece it together, and I got the background for like $12 because some guy was just like, "Here, I'm selling a card for $12." Someone will be dumb enough to buy it, and that person was me. So,
well, congratulations on being the dumb guy that bought something for $12.
Story of my life.
We have a question regarding Bowser's Fury, actually, from Alex Gilbert. He's asked, do you think Bowser's Fury is our big 3D Mario game for this year, or do you think they'll have Odyssey 2, Galaxy 3 ready in the oven for a holiday release? And he also thanks us for a great show, as always. Well, I mean, what can we do? But yeah, I don't think we're going to see Odyssey 2 or Galaxy 3 this year. Not at all.
No. But I also don't think that this is what we should consider their big thing, like the big Mario game this year or anything like that. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we got another Mario thing this year. Right?
Oh, really? Would you care to wildly speculate on the record?
I don't know. No. I would not. But what I'm saying is, like, I don't think that I would consider this like Nintendo's big 3D Mario release for 2021. I think it's like the Wii U ports in my mind have always sort of just existed in this sort of like other category to those things, where it's like they're porting over games that didn't get a fair shot, basically, and they're adding a little value to them. So I wouldn't consider this like the Odyssey equivalent for 2021, but I also don't think we're going to get Odyssey 2 in 2021.
Like if you look at it, New Super Mario Brothers U was the last sort of big Wii U Mario game of the only, there's only two of them that they could port over outside of Mario Maker, which, the second one exists on Switch. But that came out in 2019, and we didn't really see any other Mario games that year. So it could go either way. I would say that like the two kind of wild cards this year in terms of 3D Mario outside of 3D World is I do feel like they're going to figure out a way to sort of eventize the re-release of 3D All-Stars. I know they said they're closing the doors on buying that digitally, but I do think they'll make like a different version of it that's maybe missing the soundtrack or, whatever.
Or maybe
they're gonna
split it up into 3, like you can buy
that's exactly
$25.
Yes. But my big fingers crossed for the year is that they just port Galaxy 2 to Switch, because that was I mean, kind of like needlessly out of the picture from 3D All-Stars, and like that's kind of stings because it's a really good game. It just wasn't even addressed. They were just like, "You're not here. Goodbye." And I would love to play that on Switch this year.
Yeah, that would be phenomenal because I actually missed that on the Wii. So
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh man,
I know. Galaxy, the original Galaxy, is like one of my oldest son's favorite games from that era. Like he has so much nostalgia for that game. But you know what we are getting from Mario this year is a new Super Mario Switch launching February 12th at the same time. Thank you for applauding my segue there. Yeah,
very good.
it's red and blue, and it's very red and it's very blue. I don't know what the Pantone code is for either of the colors, but Pear is probably researching it to see if he needs to buy it just to get the Joy-Con because it's like one, one hue away from the red that they already have. But I have a feeling it's not different at all. But very
let
cool
let me just answer that question really quick. No, he does not need to buy it. But whether he is going to is
the
a
hierarchy
separate
of needs for Pear is different than for everybody else.
Joy-Cons,
sheltered Joy-Cons, yeah.
I will say that, like, in terms of any kind of collecting or or addiction, it is important that you set parameters. And I think what Pear did is air quotes pretty smart because he decided to only collect Joy-Con, which means that people will buy these collector's edition Switches or limited edition Switches, and sometimes they'll put the Joy-Con on eBay and he'll buy them from there. Had he just been like, I need to collect every Switch, like that's $300 plus shipping or import costs every couple of weeks, months at this point.
The thing about this one though is the Switch and the dock are red.
Yeah.
Which is I really like that, and the Joy-Con holder is blue too. So man, I am legitimately considering, like, I'm trying to think like what side hustle can I get on to get
I want to point out
$99.
Oh yeah, right. I mean, I wish there was a way you could just trade your boring Switch with people who bought the interesting one, or vice versa. If people are just like, this is too bright, I'm sorry, I need something gray and dull. You're like, well, I have the Switch for you.
Well, that's the thing here is this is the first Switch that has been a different physical color, right? Like they've done those sort of like the Animal Crossing one,
just the dock and the animal. They have the backings.
The backings have those
like
little,
they've never done like a
etchings,
different colored. Yeah.
So that's really interesting to me, is that we're getting like an actual different color case of Switch, which before now you basically have to either skin it or mod it to make that happen.
Which is crazy because if you look at like the N64, they launched that thing with like 5 different colored controllers you could buy from.
Right.
What's interesting about this is not a red and blue Switch. It's red.
Yeah.
Like the Joy-Con accessories, like the straps and the Joy-Con grip and stuff like that. The case has some blue on it. Those things are blue. Removed from those things, if you're just holding the Switch and you're just docking the Switch, it is all red. So you really wouldn't even know that this is like a Super Mario themed thing until you put the stuff on. Then it looks like, overalls.
Well, I was going to say, I guess that comes down to how much personal weight do you put onto Mario's overalls as part of his identity versus Mario's hat.
I wasn't expecting such a deeply philosophical question this early in the morning. I'm going to be thinking about that for a long time.
Well, you can come back next week with your answer. Yeah.
I'll take your mind off of it and we'll talk about new Pokemon Snap got a release date today. The release date, no, it's not coming out today. The release date was announced earlier this morning. It's coming out April 30th. Are there any Snap heads on the panel today? Sound off in the comments right now.
Yeah.
All right, Tom, you are a Pokemon Snap fan. Are you? So I'm assuming that you have a little bit of excitement going into this with today's news.
Oh, I'm very excited that it has a date, and I'm very excited kind of that it's where it's positioned just generally. It's like end of April is a perfect time for this, I think. Usually that's going into a quieter period of releases a little bit, and I'm super hyped for this. I mean, like, I'll say I'm cautiously optimistic overall about like what it might end up being, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a lot of easy ways in my mind to make this game just not fun, but it looks really good visually. I think it looks really good, and conceptually I'm really glad that we're getting it, and I'm glad that it actually is a thing with a real date now. And this trailer made me excited just for like seeing how much variety there might be and how many different Pokemon, how much kind of like the animations look really, really good. So yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic in that there are a lot of ways to mess it up, but I'm very excited to see what they do with it and what direction they end up going. And there's also, as we're seeing right now in the B-roll, if you're watching on YouTube, like there's some weirdly cool cutscenes. It
Yeah.
looks like I hope these are not just for the trailer. I hope these are actual in-game cutscenes because that's maybe there's a little bit more story than I'm expecting here.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm like not traditionally a Pokemon guy. Every couple of years I'll play like the first 5-10 hours of one and be like, oh, that's cool, and then get distracted.
Sure.
But I'm really into this. Like this looks gorgeous. It looks really fun. I'm okay with it being kind of simple. I keep thinking about this, but like I love sort of like amateur photography on trips, on vacations. I love to travel places and take pictures. I haven't gotten to do that in a very long time. I
Remember
go
when
to
you
my
used to do that?
yeah, I used to host a travel show. I go to my
I know.
yard now, or like walk down the street. And so this is great. Like this is a like a insane animal safari that I get
Yeah.
to take pictures of all these bizarre beasts and then I guess real birds too. Yeah, it's gonna be a blast. It's
Yeah.
really gorgeous.
Yeah,
And
I'm really into it.
we've talked about this on the show before, but like for anybody who doesn't get it, the appeal of Pokemon Snap, at least the original for me, was two things, which is one, the puzzle game aspect of it, of figuring out how to get the Pokemon in the right positions and like get the best photos. And then two, it was just the like sort of zen cutesy fun of taking cute pictures of Pokemon doing funny things, right? Like it was never more than that. And I
Mhm.
don't think it needs to necessarily be.
Yeah.
This game doesn't need to be some incredible thing to me as long as it's like fun and exciting and relaxing, or basically, like just cutesy. That's kind of what I'm looking for it.
Yeah.
You know what I just thought of is how great is social media going to be like April
Yeah.
30th for like the
Oh,
first week.
yeah.
Everyone's just like, oh, look at my Pokemon photos. It's gonna feel wholesome and wonderful.
Yeah.
They actually they've already released a guide for it. It's called The Decisive Moment by Henry Cartier-Bresson. And that's a photography joke. Look that one up, kids. A master of composition.
Yeah. Now this damn it, Seth. This looks this looks really great. And you're totally right. I think that like it's really understated how well, as you all know, we live in a nightmare world. And so social media is horrible constantly, and it's infinitely
bummer.
depressing, and it's just real and terrible. And then there's like the fact that over the last few months, years, photo modes in games have gotten amazing. So it's this
Yeah.
great combo breaker of just like,
Yeah.
oh no, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh,
Yay!
it's Garbodor.
Very excited. That is new Pokemon Snap coming out April 30th. Also on some sadder news, but it's maybe not so sad. Super Nintendo World's opening has been delayed indefinitely. And that doesn't mean it's never opening. That just means they don't know when it's going to open. The
Apparently
Osaka
it was
prefecture-
because of there was a huge like a theft in the park where someone had stolen
some sort of
heist.
daring heist.
I'm gonna keep that joke going. I don't care.
I love it so much. Somebody please edit the Ray Liotta scene of him hearing about the Lufthansa heist. Into Brian talking about it. Oh yeah, the Osaka prefecture had a state of emergency due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The park was originally slated to open February 4th, which is so tantalizing. We were so close. Universal Studios Japan issued an apology to guests and stakeholders alike, but in my opinion, like, come on, like we're not mad. You don't have to apologize to us. Universal Studios Japan.
Yeah, this is the responsible thing to do, right? This is 100% the responsible thing to do. We are still in an escalating global pandemic, and I think to me, February 4th always seemed fairly optimistic. Like they announced that date, and I was like, oh, really? Okay, like cool. And things are potentially gonna turn around with vaccine rollouts in the next few months, and I think it's just a smart thing to do. It's a disappointment for sure, but like just chill a bit, man, and like take it easy, and wait for things to get tangibly better and safer, and then start inviting people to this place, because Japan's moving forward with the Olympics this summer anyway, so like stuff is gonna open up at a certain point.
I just came up with the best idea to get vaccination rates up. is that if you go to Super Nintendo World, they'll just vaccinate you right there at the door, and then you're in. Go, have fun. 100%.
I think it should work in reverse. That like if you get vaccinated like tomorrow, you can go to Super Nintendo World.
I would get like 10 vaccines then, and then there'd be a problem.
Yeah.
There'd be a worldwide shortage. Just needles just sticking all out of me, full of life-giving vaccines.
This got really dark really quick.
I mean, I'm just being honest. I gotta be true to myself. So
I
sorry.
would definitely, not that I'm like delaying on getting a vaccine, but I would definitely get a vaccine if it came with a ticket to Super Mario World. That would be, yeah.
It's like you open up a Wonka bar and there's a
Yeah.
golden ticket. It's like inside the vial. There's a golden ticket to Super Nintendo World. All right, let's move on. The Awada Asks book is coming also later this year in April. I don't know if you guys have seen this. I pre-ordered it like a million years ago. Like this is one of those things that when I look at my Amazon orders, I'm like, what's coming in April? I'm like, oh yeah. It's basically they took like bits from the Ask Awada interviews that they used to publish on Nintendo's website, and then there's new thoughts from Miyamoto and the Earthbound creator oh god, I'm not going to say it correctly. I'm just going to say the Earthbound creator. So yeah, it's very exciting. The Ask Iwata series was great. There's a Game Center episode with Iwata on it that is subtitled on YouTube, and it's like one of the most.
It's so good.
It's beautiful. It's charming, and it's so insightful, and you just learn so much about just the process of video games and who Iwata is and where he came from. Like I highly recommend seeking that out, or check out the book, which I don't obviously know how that's going to be, but I have a feeling it's going to be pretty awesome. Do you guys know the eShop went down when the Monster Hunter demo released? Like it just yeah, we did it, everybody. We brought it to the system to its knees. Yeah.
That makes me happy. Like, not the eShop going down, but it makes me happy that there's that much interest in Rise. I really wasn't like, I don't know. Just I'm excited.
All day we're like, where is it? I thought it was coming out today. Where's my? They're like junkies. Where's my demo, man? And then we crashed. I downloaded it from the eShop on my computer, and then forgot that I had changed my Wi-Fi password, so my Switch just sat idly doing nothing till last night when I realized the problem and changed it again. So, but have either one of you played the demo?
Yes, I talked about it a little last week. That's
right.
Yeah, I'm still super into it. I'm surprised, or I don't know if Brian has played it yet. But Brian, if you
downloaded it, I was part of the problem.
That's step one. You're almost there. I did the same.
You and me should go hunting then.
Really?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, I'm down.
Yeah, cool.
I just don't want to have to sharpen my sword in the middle of battle. It's like, it's a problem.
Well, no promises there.
Might have to do it. Sorry to say, I don't know.
Thinking about it.
There was a Gengar mouth pillow that everybody on the internet went crazy for. I remember it was like yesterday. All I saw were pictures of like a Japanese businessman with his head in Gengar's mouth, just sleeping on the floor of a stark white room, and that was everybody was into it. And I mean, yeah, I'm kind of into it too.
The Nintendo or Pokemon, I guess specifically, has been making more and more of these like nearly life-sized, incredibly expensive plushies, right?
Yeah.
Like we all in the office pooled money together to buy that like $500 Mareep, right?
Who ended up with that, by the way?
I'm not sure actually. I know it's in safe hands right now.
Because that thing was the size of like a Power Wheels.
An actual sheep.
Yeah. It was actually like bigger than it. It was like a sheep that nobody had, cut the wool off of or whatever they do. Sheared is the word. I should play more Minecraft. Nobody had sheared in like 7 years. Like it was just like this inflated, like huge puffy looking thing. And I went into the office like a week before like they closed the place down for good because we're moving offices during the pandemic. And it was just sitting by itself on this table. And our building manager guy, Pablo, was like, I've been dusting this and everything else. And I was like, really? You're taking care of this? So sweet. It's just this huge lone sheep on a table that everybody, crowdfunded using everyone at IGN. All the IGN, like something like, what was like 25 IGN employees chipped in to buy this like $400 sheep.
I think it was $500.
$500, yeah.
Yeah, and it was a lot of people. It was like it was a nice bonding exercise. Everyone.
Yeah.
coming together to get that thing.
I'm happy to know it lives in someone's house. I imagine it's just Casey's like in Florida with it's just an empty room and a sheep.
No, it has a happy home.
Okay, good.
Okay, good. I was worried that maybe somebody just drove it out to the woods, opened the door, said, "You're free now, buddy," because they can't survive on their own. That's a myth.
Could you imagine walking through the woods and seeing that like at night? That would be so scary.
Well, seeing any it doesn't matter what, any Pokemon plush in the woods at night.
You know what the next step is, though?
What's that?
Crowdfunding a $250 Gengar with a long tongue pillow.
Yes.
Is that how much it is?
Yeah, it's $250.
The tongue is like a red carpet that you can walk.
It's like a blanket, and then the pillow is the actual body. It's wild. It's very strange.
I didn't realize that part of it. I thought it was just like a hood that you.
No. Yeah.
Hey, there's things I'm willing to do for comfort, but I don't know about a $250 pillow I can stick my head in. I got a sleeping bag. I can just stick my head in that and paint some eyes on it and pretend it's me.
I really love that this is the service this pillow provides to you, is not like a plush of Gengar, but like a thing to stick your head in. Like that's
you're thinking of it only in its functionality and not really in its form.
Yeah.
Like form-wise, it's a life-size Pokemon with a huge mouth that you can hang out in and around. No. Yeah, ghost Pokemon. Functionality-wise, it's basically it technically is a sleeping bag that you put your head in.
Yeah, do you remember when you were in elementary school and the teacher would tell you to put your heads down when you were because like everybody was being bad?
Yeah.
And then sometimes, I don't know about you, sometimes I just fall right asleep. And imagine if you could do that with a Gengar as a grown-up. Like Pear just comes in and tells the whole office, you guys have been bad. Everyone put your heads down. And you just snuggle right into your Gengar. And off to dreamland you go. Counting Mareeps.
But that's also horrifying, because Gengar's whole thing is that he like eats dreams, right? Isn't that like his deal?
Well, he can get the nightmares out of your head.
Right. He just eat them right up. Spit them out. You'll have good dreams forever. For $250. All right, that's enough about Gengar. Let's talk about video games that are out this week for the Nintendo Switch. Once again, it's January. January has traditionally been a tough time for video games and movies, particularly in 2021 for a million different reasons. But it's not all bad, because we got Down in Bermuda, which I am not familiar with.
This is a game. Yeah, this is a game that came out on Apple Arcade. It's like a little visual puzzle game sort of thing.
Oh, okay.
Came out on Apple Arcade last year and just came out today on, I think it's Switch and Steam. Okay. It looks cool. I don't know of anything. I haven't played it myself yet. But it's really a charming visual art style. Our own Justin Davis apparently played it last year and thought that it was a little bit like it felt a little bit buggy, and he hoped that maybe that was just like a launch thing that got resolved. So I'm looking forward to trying this week and seeing kind of how it feels, because it looks really, really charming. And I like things like that a lot.
Off the art style.
I love this art style.
Yeah. So I'll report back next week.
Yes, please. By all means, we're counting on you to play Down in Bermuda. This is a game that I've mentioned every time we talk about it, because I did not play it the first time it came out. But Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game complete edition, is coming out to Nintendo Switch and other platforms Friday, I believe, which is tomorrow or today, depending on when you're listening to this. Never played before. Tell me I'm gonna love it. Brian, am I gonna love this game?
Yes, you're gonna love it. This is one of the best beat 'em ups ever made, hands down.
So
this is it. I think it's like we've seen this genre sort of successfully revitalized over the last few years with stuff like Streets of Rage 4, River City Girls, which is awesome. Definitely check that out. Both of those are on Game Pass, by the way, if you have an Xbox. And they are both on Switch as well. And so this game was awesome. It was licensed, so it was inevitably pulled down from stores. So if you had downloaded it like on an Xbox 360 or something, you didn't really have a chance to get it over the last few years. This is based on the movie via the comic or vice versa. But really, you don't have to know a ton about all that to just know that this is a really great couch co-op beat 'em up. you run around, do combos, get coins. It's extremely sort of like 32-bit River City Ransom
Nice.
/ a little bit of Double Dragon. It's just a blast. The music is fantastic too. Awesome chip tunes.
Ooh.
Play this game.
The music's
Ooh.
made by Anamanaguchi,
Yes.
who's
Oh,
just a phenomenal chiptune artist. And also, to your point, it's great in couch co-op, absolutely. But the complete edition, one of the things it does that sort of fixes a big gap from the original is it adds online co-op.
Nice.
So this actually
cool.
is like playable in the pandemic era as well. Yeah, I hope this game holds up because I haven't played it in a long time. But yeah, I loved it when I played it back in the day, and you definitely don't need to know Scott Pilgrim stuff. But it's really, really just beautiful and fun for sure.
Sweet. It's getting a physical release too. Am I correct?
Limited
Or am I
run, yeah. Limited
Yeah.
run
Limited run,
games
yeah.
doing it as a physical for it.
I love what they're doing with that. Oh, and I just saw an onomatopoeia on the screen. It's like kapow. Instead of onomatopoeia. That's too late. I waited too long for that joke. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry to my listeners, all the Super Nintendos. Really ate my lunch on that one. And finally, biggest news, we've got curling coming to the Nintendo Switch in the eShop for $4.99. It's everybody's favorite ice-based rock knocking winter sport.
No, that's
Curling.
hockey.
No, you don't knock rocks with hockey. That's so
You
hard to say.
You did really good with that.
This would've
That
been
Dr.
a great,
Seuss
like,
puzzle you put in
like
your
an old
mouth.
vaudeville bit. Nah, you don't knock rock with hockey. I put this on here kind of as a joke, but I actually really think curling is awesome. When I was,
Like the
Like I
game
said,
or
I grew up-
the idea of it?
no, I grew up very close to Canada, so on our cable network, our cable provider, we had Canadian channels, and on Saturday afternoons, sometimes I would just watch curling, and it was a very relaxing sport to watch. It's very big in Canada. They're very proud of their curling, knock rock.
Not yes.
What I said earlier. Just edit that in, Red, please. But that's it. It's kind of a drought, so we're all just sort of hanging out, playing what we've been playing, which brings us to our next section of the show. What we are playing, and I have been playing Final Fantasy Legend, the Game Boy game on the Saga collection, because it is not very deep. It is kind of obtuse, but not too terribly much so, because there's a million guides out there. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's very simple. It's scaled back so much, and I can like sit on the couch and just grind around and just kill enemies and try to figure out its weird systems that make no sense. Like when you feed a drumstick to your albatross, he might turn into a skeleton man for some reason, and I find it very charming.
Now this is a collection of the 3 original Final Fantasy Game Boy games, right?
Right, which were actually Saga games.
Right.
They renamed Final Fantasy Legend because in America they were just trying to ride the wave of popularity of Final Fantasy on the NES. So they're like, oh, this game's sort of the same and kids are stupid. So yeah, okay. And I'd never played any of these games before. I'd always wanted to growing up. Like I was obsessed with the idea of these games. So I finally got the collection and I've been playing it. The collection itself is not great. It's extremely bare bones. They didn't add much of anything for extras, but the games are actually kind of fun, especially in handheld mode, because you just pick it up, fight some monsters, go buy some punch, 99 punches that you can use, and then just put it down again and pick it up in the next day.
In terms of the ports themselves, like I'm kind of bummed there's no, sort of like making of art book stuff.
Yeah, there's nothing like that.
That's a bummer. But in terms of the ports themselves, it looks like you can play on different like Game Boy. I guess like
you can actually turn it so that it's vertical, and you have to use the on-screen controls though. But like you're playing it on a Game Boy, unfortunately, it only flips vertically so that it doesn't work with the flip grip. It flips the opposite way. Which is a super bummer, because this would be a great game to play.
Yes,
flip grip, especially because the flip grip's like $12 or something. But I'm having a lot of fun with it. It doesn't make any sense. Like sometimes my mutant will have a spell. I'm like, oh, this is very useful. And then the next fight, he doesn't have that spell anymore, and I don't know why that is. But it's kind of fun to not know. It really is taking me back to like, you remember when you'd play an old NES game and nothing made sense at
Mhm.
all. You'd have to read the instruction booklet to find out what was going on. And half the time with me, we'd rent it and there wouldn't be an instruction booklet. So be like, oh, okay, this guy has to climb to the top of a mountain and
Or you'd
conquer
like
God for some reason.
you talk to your friends at school who were liars, and they would make up elaborate things that they heard from like a cousin's brother who were like, "Oh, if you stand on the bar in Final Fantasy, you could turn into a frog."
Yeah.
You would go
Oh,
home and just try to climb on that bar for 15 minutes or for 45, stuff like that. It was a good era.
yeah, it was a good era full of misinformation on the playground. Thankfully, those days are gone now.
No more misinformation these days. We took care of it.
Stamped it out. No, you don't see anybody standing on a bar trying to turn into a frog anymore.
Nope.
Those days are long behind us. Tom, do you have any familiarity with this
There's a
series?
metaphor.
I have familiarity with the first 2 words of the name of this series, and not at all with the third word.
Yeah, I couldn't, in good conscience, like recommend these games to.
You've never heard of a
anybody.
legend?
No, only when regarding to of Zelda.
You never
Okay.
heard of that movie with Tom Cruise and there's a unicorn, and if you touch it, Satan comes.
Yeah, or also the critically acclaimed Nickelodeon show, Legends of the Hidden Temple. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot.
Okay, maybe I do. I have familiarity with some legends. How about that?
Okay.
But not this one specifically. No, I never played these games. They were weirdly before my time, right? Because I never had an original Game Boy. I got in on Game Boy with the Game Boy. I think maybe my first one was a color.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hey,
I
look,
think so.
this is a judgment-free zone. Okay, we're not
Yeah.
here to tell you whether or not you're a good person because you played Final Fantasy Legend.
And unlike you, Seth,
You're not
I
old.
don't. No. I don't have as much of a like. This is just something I know about myself. I don't have as much of a tolerance for like going back to older games I don't have nostalgia for. Like I never played the original Deus Ex, which is this legendary, incredible PC game that everyone tells you is like just a masterpiece. And then I went back and I played it. I think it was like 5 years ago I started playing Deus Ex, the original one, and like I like couldn't stomach it just for kind of a lot of those older, rougher edges
Yeah.
that make older games hard to play a lot of the time. And like I don't think that's controversial to say necessarily. It's just I
No, but
personally
then again,
and I just
could
don't
be.
personally have a tolerance for that stuff a lot. So it's not a game I'm like overly interested in going back to, but I like
Yeah.
still, if you're having fun with it, that's awesome. That's great.
Hey, it's like doing spreadsheets. I love doing spreadsheets. And that's why I like grinding grinding RPGs. The other game I'm playing is this game called, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, Odalus, and I never heard of this game before.
If you name your game something like that and people can't pronounce it, that's on the person who named it, not you.
Well, look, weird name
Sure.
that I don't know how to pronounce aside. This game was on sale on the eShop the other day for $3.90 or for $2.99. I had enough points. I was like, yeah, this looks kind of cool. This game is awesome. It's like a Castlevania 3 sort of vibe, and the aesthetic of it is incredible. They have this great, it looks like a CRT. It's not just like a filter, but it like curves at the edges and gets a little like funky and weird looking, like in an old CRT would. And it's brutally hard and a little bit frustrating, but I highly recommend this 6-year-old game that I just discovered and bought for essentially for free the other day because it's
This
phenomenal.
this looks awesome.
It is awesome. You've got to check this game out. It's like $9 normally, and it might still be on sale for all I know. But yeah, you should check this game out. It is rad.
What's it called? Odalus?
Odalus, Odallus.
Rolls right off the tongue.
It does, doesn't it? Well,
Yeah, this looks super cool.
everybody should check it out. Brian's checking it out right now as we speak. Tom, what have you been playing lately?
I'm playing something I can't talk about until next week, but I will
Boo.
happily report back on next week as well if I'm around. And then also I've been playing a decent amount of Stardew Valley again.
Nice.
So I've been playing this on PC co-op, because the 1.5 update just hit on PC and is coming to Switch and consoles
Oh, okay.
sometime
What
in the
does
future.
this update include?
I mean, it adds a lot, and it adds a lot that is more late game, so I haven't gotten to it yet. And for I'll avoid spoilers, but like it adds a new area, it adds some new characters, right? It's some pretty significant stuff. The stuff that I've seen so far that it adds that I really am enjoying is it adds a new farm layout called that's a beach farm. So
Oh,
like
hell yeah.
yeah, so your
Raising up
farm
some lobsters.
right, your farm is like surrounded by beach water, and the whole farm is almost the entire farm is sand, um, which you can plant crops on, but you can't use sprinklers on. And so, like, it's basically hard mode because you have it's like in terms of farm layouts, it has like the second most farmable terrain, but 90% of it can't be used with sprinklers. And so you either have to go into things that don't need watering, or you're just going to constantly be watering your crops. And luckily, since I'm playing in co-op mode, that doesn't really matter as much because my partner loves going into the mines and killing things and mining, and I love just like farming at home. So I spend all of my energy the entire day watering and planting and dealing with crops, and then she's going off and doing other useful things, and it works out, right? The other
I
cool
gotta
thing,
stop you there for a second. It's on the beach, so
yeah,
why would you have to water it? 'Cause it's surrounded by the ocean.
that's a
That's
fair
salt
point.
water. You can't put salt water on the plants. You get sick, throw up.
You can grow seaweed. Or
Yeah,
clams. Clams
You
are a
can't build a
vegetable.
boat out of seaweed, man. You're trying to
you
grow
know,
trees over here.
in a game with like
Seaweed boat.
magical sprites and
Wow,
wizards
Yeah.
and slime monsters, I don't question the growing corn on sand part of it. That seems like the least unrealistic part of
Ugh,
this game.
hate that gritty
You're
corn.
also cool with having to sharpen your sword in a game where you fight 70-foot tall dragon monsters. So, it is what it is, as they
Hey,
say.
hey, I don't sharpen my sword. I sharpen my mostly blunt staff. Okay, so
Fair
You want to
enough.
hone that baby up to a fine edge.
the other thing that this update adds, though, that I've already experienced and really dig is it gives you an option when you're first starting your farm to use remixed. It's just completely optional. Remixed bundles and remixed mine rewards. So you get like a reward every 5 levels of the mine you go down, and then all bundles are like the community center where you have to like get specific items throughout the year and turn them in for rewards. So this is an option that slightly randomizes and changes things so that if you're like me and you've played through the entire game already, but you want to see this new stuff, you want to start fresh, you want a new farm layout, you can pick it up and it will, it's not like drastically different, but you're going to be kept on your toes a little more. It's a little bit fresher of an experience to go through this with the remix stuff. So I'm really enjoying that aspect of it. It is like Stardew Valley is such a good game, and it just
Yeah.
keeps on giving. And this is so cool that there's like can be such a significant content update that shakes things up so like late into the process here and into the life cycle of this game, which I did not think was going to be getting DLC this long.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. Do you have any idea when this update's coming to Switch, or is it just soon?
Near-ish future, but
Near.
not anything like there's not a date yet.
I can't remember if I have this on Switch or PC or both, which is like the case 90% of the time. But yeah, I've been wanting to get back into this. Maybe I'll have to jump in now that there's a big old update and get completely lost in my world of imagination that I've created. Brian, what have you been playing? Anything new?
No. Well, it's January, and you know what that means? Weird depression.
Yeah.
And so every single year, I start the year being like, I'm overwhelmed with sort of like cosmic ideas and idiocy, and I'm like, what do I do something new? Do I have resolutions? And I just get like I'm like, where is my place in the world? What do I do? And so what I do to combat that and climb out of that funk is dive back into video game comfort food, which annually for me is stuff like Link's Awakening, Bloodborne, Breath of the Wild, Metroid, or Resident Evil 4. And I was in a meeting the other day with the great Damon Hatfield, host here at IGN, and he said, hey Brian, what were you doing 16 years ago today? And I was like, when I was probably like drinking a beer on a stoop in Manhattan, wondering what to do with my life. Not a lot has changed. And so I was like, what happened? And he goes, it was the release date of Resident Evil 4. And I was like, oh man, you planted this bug in my head. Now I can't get it out. So I booted the game back up, playing through it all over again. But this year it feels a little different because this year I have a feeling, I have hope that Capcom is going to announce a remake / remaster version of the game, akin to what we saw with Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3. They announced just this morning, actually, that there is an event coming up, I believe on the 21st, not the 20th, because that's going to be a different type of survival horror. And I have fingers crossed that this is going to be the year where they announce Resident Evil 4. So yeah, I'm playing through this game again. I love it. I have it memorized back in my hand. I usually do this once a year. I can finish it in about 12 hours, I guess, sometimes less. And yeah, it's just fun comfort food. It gives me the feeling of accomplishing something that I know I'm good at. And that's sometimes like the kick in the butt that I need to get started in the new year and be like, oh yeah, I can accomplish things. And there's some stuff that I can tangibly start and finish instead of just, jumping on 100 different creative projects at once and being like, what do I do? What do I go? What do I, and so, yeah, this is how I kind of get the bats out of my brain for a little while. And then I go explore the world.
Nice. Yeah, I remember like when that game came out, thinking like Resident Evil on GameCube, like is that even gonna be good? And then my friend, I was living in Arizona at the time. My friend back here in Maine was like, I finished this game. I'm sending it to you in the mail because it is so incredible. And he was right. And then I remember just like opening up and being like, there's 2 discs. What?
Yeah, it's one of those like 2-disc games where there really feels like a kind of a shift in tone between the discs, which is obviously missing when you play it digitally on Switch. But there's something wonderful to that. Also, there was like a Twitter like sort of thread going around the other day of people sharing like demo discs that they played the most, and it got me thinking about the Resident Evil 4 demo disc, which it just was the entire section up until the end of the beginning of the village after you kill the chainsaw guy, and Leon looks around and he's like, where did everybody go? Bingo. Like the writing is so dumb. I love it so much. And I played through that a million times. Like that was just that was one of those game demos that I was just obsessed with.
Did you ever get in any of those, Tom? Like just play a game demo a million times that came packaged in?
Demo specifically, I'd have to think.
I can tell you right now, I bought Zone of the Enders just for the Metal Gear Solid 2 demo, and I played the Metal Gear Solid 2 demo way more than I ever played Zone of the Enders. At one point, you would finish the demo, and it would give you a code, and you would go to a website, and you would type that code in, and it would give you your leaderboard rank. And at one point, I was like 1,600 in the world. I was like, "Look at me!
That's so cool,
champion."
I hated how on 3DS they limited the number of times you could play a demo. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because I remember talking with a friend about how there was like a Rayman game on there. It might have been Legends or Origins. It was like one of the games like never really actually got ported, but they put a demo out for it and then I believe canceled it. And so the only way to play that game on 3DS is in the demo version, which has 30 attempts and then it's gone forever.
It's like a Spawn's power. Like every time you use it, he got a little closer to going to hell forever.
Yeah, just like that.
Just like that.
Can you imagine? This is off topic. Can you imagine if PT had that?
Oh my god.
Limitation?
Like a limit on how many times you could play it, because then there'd be people who are not only like have their console, their PS4 with PT on it, but like their PS4 with one play of PT on it. It's like, when do you cash that in? Yeah. No, so I definitely played demos, but I don't know. I can't think of anything that I got entirely obsessed with offhand.
I remember I remember that Final Fantasy VII had a demo, but I could never remember what game it was. It was actually Tobal #1 was the game that had the demo for Final Fantasy VII. I have no recollection of that game whatsoever. I couldn't tell you anything about it, but I know that I owned it because I played that Final Fantasy demo 100 million times. and apparently never played Tobal #1. So
Oh, really?
yeah,
I
I
will.
have no recollection of that game.
I'll also say shout out to the Nintendo DS for launching with the Metroid Prime Hunters demo, which I played a ton of too. It had a multiplayer mode and everything, and that game didn't come out for years after
Yeah.
that. That was supposed to be like launch window, and it just
Right.
kept getting delayed. And I thought that was the most amazing thing to have like a 3D touchscreen controlled Metroid game that you played with a stylus on this like weird little,
Yeah.
chunky layer cake PDA that
We
they
didn't
put
know
out.
what it
Like,
was. Like,
nope.
why are there 2 screens on this? Nintendo over. They're
Mhm.
done for. Well, let's see how that turned out. I
They
would
did
actually
okay.
be interested to hear from some of the listeners about like any game demos that you might have like played till the disc disintegrated inside of what it was. I can remember when they would, you'd get a magazine for like $12 because there was a disc of demos inside
Oh
of it.
yeah.
But speaking of listeners, let's take some questions from the listeners because it's time for question block. That was the sound effect right there. I'm assuming it was edited in. I don't know. Don't leave me hanging, Red. This is from Liz Morgan. She says, this is not a question, just a humble request. Please make a
Humble
shirt.
request block.
This is a humble request block. Please make a shirt that says Super Ninfrendos. Podcast Beyond got an elderly Irish woman shirt. Let's level the playing field. Well, Liz, I'm going to tell you, I actually suggested this to my boss, Justin Davis, and he said it's never going to happen. He is on Twitter at ErrorJustin. So if you want to see a Super Ninfrendos shirt, make sure to go on Twitter at ErrorJustin and say, hey, I want my shirt by Gar.
Is it because of legal reasons?
No, he just didn't realize like that it was a thing.
But he greenlit a elderly Irish woman t-shirt.
And that was the most popular shirt of like the week that it came out.
No way.
The Beyond audience went bananas and just like that was the top selling shirt that week. So I don't know.
For clarity, we do a show called Podcast Beyond. It's a PlayStation show every single week. You probably know about it at this point. But somebody called Lucy O'Brien in the comments, they were like, I really like the show with Max, Jonathan, Brian, and that elderly Irish woman. And she just kind of like yanked it and was like, this is mine. I'm running with it. And then we turned it into a shirt. I did not know that anyone bought it.
That is a extremely popular. Yeah, that was one of our best selling shirts that week. So yeah, at Error Justin and tell him we would like to see a Super like I don't already have like the PSD file on my computer like just ready to go.
Ready to go.
Just ready to start printing. Boom, boom, boom. But I don't do the store anymore. We have a new guy who does that and he's awesome. But moving along, Chris Barrett. Excuse me.
Wait. What? Jumping on your moment of clearing your throat to sneak this little backpedal in there. Ooh. I was trying to remember what it was because I remember I still own a demo disc that I like the image of which is bored into my brain. And it was the bonus disc that came with Mario Kart Double Dash.
Ooh, yeah.
Wait.
Mario Kart Double Dash came with 2 discs, a case with 2 disc slots in it. And there was a bonus disc that had demos from Mario Party 5, F-Zero GX, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Star Wars Rogue Squadron 3, and Sonic Heroes.
Whoa!
And I played that one a lot because it came with Double Dash. So I still have that one, and I still remember that one. And that'll be my shout-out. And now we can move on.
There was another one. Do you guys remember that demo disc that had Billy Hatcher on it?
No, but I loved Billy Hatcher because a stupid little child. I don't know if that game's good, but I loved Billy Hatcher when I was a kid.
I don't know what Billy Hatcher is, so this.
Okay, yes, this was called the GameCube preview disc. It had it had demos for Beautiful Joe, Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg, and Sonic DX Adventure Director's Cut. Really, just all a bunch of characters that are just together. Just all on the same page. I love that Sam he's in the corner being all like pissed off, and he's hanging out with Beautiful Joe and the guy pushing an egg, and then Sonic the Hedgehog.
Billy Hatcher for Smash, people. Let's get it moving.
Oh, let's get that hashtag trending. Let's get some real mad people when it doesn't happen.
Hopeless. Waluigi is more likely.
Oh, yeah. That's actually one of the questions that we have later on.
Oh,
Waluigi preview for it. Chris Barrett asks, so the last few weeks, NVC has been talking a lot about revitalizing existing Nintendo IP, but here's my question. Would you rather have them take an existing IP like Star Fox or Kirby and take the series in a new direction, or would you rather see Nintendo experiment with an entirely new IP?
Hmm.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I as much as I would love to see them take like Star Fox in a new direction, Splatoon was such an amazing surprise. Like I would love to see them come up with another like new sort of IP like that because I remember when they announced Splatoon, I was like a shooter with ink and squids and kids. This sounds real dumb. And then it turned out it's just so beautiful and wonderful. And I love everything about it. It's so charming. So yeah, I would rather see them just experiment with something new because they can do that. They're Nintendo.
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
then
about
they
you?
also
I'm
did
inclined to agree.
ARMS, right?
Hold on. What's that?
Go,
Yeah.
go ahead, Brian. Go ahead, Brian.
No, you want to talk about ARMS? I think we should do that.
Oh,
Well, that's what I was just gonna say. Is like Nintendo at the beginning of Switch had this sort of like, or Wii U and Switch, right? With Splatoon going into ARMS, has been experimenting with new IP, and I think they generally are really good at making compelling worlds, like they've always been, and making compelling sort of styles. But like Splatoon has its fans, and I think Splatoon is a very cool game, but it also did not like light the world on fire, I think. And then similarly, to the point where like we don't really know what is happening with Splatoon 3, right? Like it's not like it became a staple Nintendo IP. And similarly, ARMS kind of like came and fizzled pretty quickly.
went.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So like I trust Nintendo a lot, and I think that they can create really good worlds, but also I don't think that saying I want a new IP from Nintendo is necessarily like the safest bet of like we're absolutely gonna get a banger from that. You know what
Oh
I
well.
mean?
Yeah. I mean that's why we get the same movies just remade and we get the same games remade. It's like
Right.
it's so much safer when you've got millions of dollars on the line. But in an imaginary, wonderful world where like like the Star Trek future where there isn't even any money, Captain Picard can't wrap his head around it when he's in the holodeck. That's when you could just basically what I'm saying is in the 24th century, Nintendo's gonna have some bangers.
No, I'd love to see them make new stuff. I don't mean to be a cynic. I think they are very good at making new IP that excite me, right?
Yeah.
Whether they set the world on fire after that is I guess another question. So I'd love to see them make new things. I guess the answer to Chris's question specifically is like just yes. Like I'd like to see them do all of these things, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of gonna win. Brian, what do you want to say about this? Do you want to see something all crazy new?
Yeah, I would like to do something new actually, because I think about when they first introduced Pikmin as a new IP, and everyone thought it was crazy, and it worked. Same thing with Splatoon. Splatoon, like I think Tommy, you're totally right. Like I don't know if it like lit the world on fire in terms of like sales and stuff like that, but I do think that it introduced um like a really awesome new aesthetic and a sort of stable of characters uh underneath like a really interesting IP that looks different than pretty much everything else they were doing.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a great addition to their lineup for sure.
yeah,
It feels very at home there within all the
absolutely.
other
And I do like that was spearheaded really by like the younger, scrappier like teams at Nintendo. Like this wasn't really one of those like vintage old IPs that had so many rules about what it could or couldn't do. It was young and new and different, and it was messy. And I think I talked to the
Literally.
yeah, messy. Like literally, I talked to the devs about that once, and I was just kind of like, this is like so many Nintendo games are about like collecting things and like cleaning things up, and you're basically going around like you're getting rid of the calamity and you're getting rid of the paint all over the place in Mario Sunshine. And then Splatoon comes out and it's like mess up your room, be a disaster, destroy everything, cover everything with paint, like and I love that. So I would love to see more stuff like that from them, stuff that's completely out of left field. Like if you look at not like someone like Isabelle that's not a new IP, but in terms of like a new addition to Animal Crossing, she became one of the most like recognizable characters in the video game industry, which is crazy because we had Animal Crossing games for like 15 years before she was even a thing. And so I think I want to see them try something new, because that's always interesting. And there's enough sort of nostalgia plays and vintage throwbacks and remixes and remakes that they do
Yep.
on the reg. So yeah, do something fresh.
Just do what you like, Nintendo. We're not here to judge.
Do what makes you happy, really.
Just whatever makes your day,
Mm-hmm.
whatever makes it easier to
This
get
is
out
your
of bed.
year.
This
You
is
take
your
care of
hey,
yourselves.
It's 2020 fun, baby. All right. One last question. This is from Corey Hurst, excuse me. Corey Hurst asks, do you want to see Wario and Waluigi in a cat suit as bad as I do? And I think you know the answer to that question.
Yes.
And it is yes, because they would be the Heathcliff to Mario's Garfield. They would just be all gross and dirty and maybe have like a patch sewn on it and a zipper
Just like
that's broken.
sitting on a trash can lid in an alley eating like a fish bone, just like I want that so badly.
Yeah.
Can that be? I hope that Nintendo, if you're listening, and I know you are, can you have time to put that into the ending if we collect everything in Bowser's Fury? Because I think that's a really good idea. It ends and it cuts to a cutscene of Cat Wario and Cat Waluigi. Or Claw Luigi, whatever you want to call him, Paul Luigi, and he's just basically on a tin, on a can, and he's just eating garbage. That's all. I don't ask for a lot, really. I just want the garbage eating Italian men in the cat suits.
And get into a fight, and it's just a cloud.
Yes,
rolls around with some curly. Like
what a great idea. Yeah. If you're a visual artist and you watch the show, at the very least, since Nintendo's definitely going to leave us hanging on this one, if you want to draw Cat Mario. Or Cat Waluigi and Cat Wario, please do.
Please screen grab Tom's face. You don't actually have to. There's no sort of timestamp because of the last minute and a half that we've been talking about this. He's had the same.
You don't want this?
What
are you talking about?
I never wanted Mario in a cat suit.
Well, you didn't know you wanted Mario.
No, the magic of Nintendo. You don't know what you want until they give it to you, and then you can't stop having it.
It's like Steve Jobs said famously, nobody knows what they want until you put it in a cat suit.
That's right.
Let me rephrase. I didn't know I didn't want Mario in a cat suit until I saw Mario in a cat suit. And then I was like, why is this middle-aged, mustached plumber in a kitty cat suit? Like, I was off put. Seeing him
that's what tipped you over to the edge of that man and everything he's been doing for 40 years.
I would rather him possess the lifeless corpse of a cat like he does in Odyssey than get into a kitty cat suit. It makes me uncomfortable. I think
you were okay with him. For the record, you were okay with him doing surgery for years, right? Like literal decades of him going inside people's bodies and pulling out viruses. You were cool with that? A plumber.
Is that surgery? I thought those were pills. Doesn't he like prescribe things recklessly?
I guess he's more of a psychiatrist. Then.
It's actually, it's a misnomer. It's actually pharmacist Mario. It's not Dr. Mario.
Yeah. No, I think that the world needs to see Cat Wario and Cat Waluigi for science only. But I also think that often science is an affront to God, and that's what this would be.
Yeah. I mean, let's do it. Let's go full bore.
Yeah, why not?
And
why not both?
The sensibilities of nature and creation itself. I'm glad that we could all agree on that because that's all the time that we have for NVC. If you want to hear, dude, I didn't edit the outro. I was like, if you want to hear this week's listeners' questions, just rewind like 10 minutes because we already went over them. You can head to our audio podcast on any of your favorite podcasting platforms like Spotify to submit your own questions. Write to us at nvc@ign.com or respond to our weekly question block post on the Nintendo Voice Chat podcast forums on Facebook, which I am an active member of, and it's the only reason that I have Facebook. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, NVC is the only place where you can
get the thing.